All right, I'm gonna open up with speaking about this. Earlier today, I was at um, I was at Walmart, and when we were done, shopping for our groceries, we came back to the car, and of course, car had a damn, flat tire to it, right? So, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because, there's statistics that speak about how, like what 80% of the population doesn't even have $400, in like a pod or something, or in a safety net, or whatever term you use, right? They don't even have $400 for a emergency, right? So that shows you how bad the shit is out here, man. That shows you how bad the population's doing out here. So, that was interesting, trying to figure that situation out. But it, brought to mind, man, that yeah, this place is done for, man. Right, America, aka Mystery Babylon the Great. Right, that great city. Right, Revelation 17:18. This place is on her way out, man. And if you can't see it, then you just can't see it. Just like going back to the saying, right, the writing is on the wall. Right, we see an example with that, with Nebuchadnezzar's son, Belteshazzar, in, the book of Daniel. Right, when he was, feasting with the golden vessels they sacked from the temple in Jerusalem, there appeared a writing on the wall to him that told him, basically your kingdom's been given over to another nation that's going to come over and destroy your country. They're going to destroy your empire from you. They're going to take it from you. Then later that night, his empire was brought to naught and he died. So again, man, the writing's on the wall, right? It's clear as day, the thing that's going on right now. And a collapse doesn't just happen overnight, right? Things don't change overnight. Things take, time to happen. So America's been in decline, since, for a few decades, America's been in decline. But, it's not going to collapse like overnight. It just doesn't work that way. Like America's prime, right? Her prime years were the 50s, right? Back in 1950s. Those were like the prime days of America, right? America was in her prime back in the 50s. But now, where we're at today, this country is nowhere near what it was, back in the 50s. If you do the research on, how things were, how the economy was, back in that time, and, things like that, how the culture was. Because back then, if you were a rainbow, gotta use code language, but if you were a rainbow, you would have to hide in the closet about it. Of course, not literally, but symbolically speaking, like you couldn't come out in the open and say, oh yeah, well, I'm a rainbow. Right? You couldn't go out and get married because that was frowned upon by the society, right? That was frowned upon. So if you were a rainbow, you would have to be in the closet about it. You couldn't come out and tell people about it. But now, it's like, shit, you can't even go anywhere without running into somebody who's, either a rainbow, a transformer, or, there's too much shit that's going on. You can't even name it all, man. But it's damn crazy, so it shows the change, right? So it shows the societal change that people back then, they were damning of it, right? If you came out as a rainbow, you'll be rejected by society. But now when you come out today, right, when you come out of the closet, as they call it, and reveal this to people, you're accepted with wide open arms. And if you have something negative to say about it, you're now the weird person. Whereas back in the 50s, it would be the other way around. People that were accepting of it, they'd be looked at as weird. But now, if you say something against it, now you're the weird person. So it did like a completely, 360. But again, it shows the changing of the times, man. Or another thing, that was happening back then is, if you look at the clothing that women wear back then, it's nothing like what they wear today. But then, if they see, man looking at them a certain way, they'll be all creeped out and whatnot. But it's like, wait a second, why the hell are you wearing attractive clothing that you obviously want people to look at you, otherwise you wouldn't wear clothing like that. But then now a man's a weird person if he looks at a woman that has, attractive clothing on, right? Tight clothing on. Right. So again, it's ridiculous, but this is the mindset that people have. Because again, back then, a lot of women wear like dresses. Right. You can go online, look up, the clothing that people wore back in the '60s and the '50s. Right. It's not like what it is today. It's completely different. But again, it's the changing of the culture over time. And again, American culture is spread throughout all the world. Right. That's why when you go over to these other developing countries, a lot of places over there that are developing, they look up to America. They get information. Let me phrase myself. They get inspiration, right? They get inspiration from the United States. They want to build their society to mimic America. That's why women have rights in most countries on earth. Why? Because they follow after America. Whereas beforehand, women were restricted. Like, I'll give a perfect example. In Saudi Arabia, a few years ago, women were not allowed to operate machinery, but now they are allowed to do it. Why? Because of the American way of life spread over there. So now they followed after what America said, right? The American standard. And they did away with their own custom. So again, that's just a good example to prove it. And that ties back to the scriptures. Revelation 17th chapter, spoke about, the woman that has dominion over the kings of the earth, right? Verse 18. But if you read up in the chapter, it speaks about how the nations were made drunk off of the wine of her fornication. That's talking about her philosophies and her political structure and her way of life. That's what it's talking about. And these nations, they followed after it. Right? Everybody's dream is to live that American dream, which really doesn't exist. But that's a different topic. I mean, shit. You have people risking their lives every single day trying to, illegally enter the country. Shit, I have somebody over in Africa who contacted me on social media when I used to use it, asking me, hey man, and again, I don't even know this guy, but he said, hey man, can you help me in any way, sneak into America? And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a second, why the hell would I help you do that? And then second of all, how the hell do you expect me to do that? But I bring the statement up to say, well, see, people around the world are willing to, risk their lives to make it over to this country because again, this place is believed to be a golden city, right? People thought that America's streets were paved with gold, right? They thought this was like the great place to be. That's the mindset that people have. So again, a lot of people just don't really know what's going on.